Good afternoon and welcome to our first of a four-part series, Fighting to Survive Local Marketing During the National Pandemic. I certainly wish that we were broadcasting in kind of more certain times, but as a company, we wanted to get on through the month of April and provide our customers, as well as just local businesses in general, tips, tricks, ideas, things we know, and things that we're learning, and bring it to you firsthand. So with that, let's do a few introductions of our panelists today. My name is Laura Cole. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Vivial. You'll notice clearly Aaron and Mike and I, we're all in our homes because we are all staying home as a company. We've been work from home, probably almost the last month. So I'm going to apologize in advance if we have kids or maybe some of our feline or dog friends join us. Hopefully it won't happen. But my name is Laura. I'm the VP of Marketing with Vivial. With me, I have my friends and colleagues, Mike Webster, our VP of Customer Relations, and Aaron Neese, our Senior Director of the Partner Channel. So we're all excited to be here with you. We're thrilled because in advance, all of you have provided questions ahead of time, which is fantastic. And so we're ready to answer all of those questions and ready to help you and give you our advice. Today, we're going to focus on the importance of marketing, even now, right? Even in these times that we're all living in, why it's important to continue to market to your current customers as well as potential customers. We're going to give you our ideas of the best tactics to drive the biggest impact. You can't focus on everything at once, but we're going to give you our recommendations for really what we would say are the foundational things all of you should be doing to keep your business top of mind. We're also going to talk through how you should modify your message and actually show you some examples of how we've been helping customers modify their message. This is definitely not the time for kind of business as usual. Business is not as usual. So how do you modify your message to make sure that you're talking to your customers, that you're relevant to your customers, and that you're providing them the best information possible? Lastly, we're going to answer your questions. As I mentioned, many have turned in questions ahead of time. We greatly appreciate that, but there's also a chat function. So throughout our discussion, feel free to enter questions. We'll get to as many as we possibly can. We're going to try to stick to the 30 minutes, but the good news is with this being a four-part series, we'll certainly have time in our other sessions. So with that, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the importance of marketing. We certainly would be naive if we haven't been hearing the news and lots of people saying cut marketing, right? Many times marketing is one of the first things to go. But the reality is that marketing continues to hold importance for your business, even in times, and I would even say particularly in these times. First of all, I'm going to talk through the importance of brand awareness. The reality is that your customers need to know that you're open for business. We know certainly, and as mentioned, we've been talking to really tens of thousands of customers over the past several weeks about the impacts. We know that not everybody is open in the same way, but even if it's in a different way, you can still keep your brand and your business at the top of mind for the customers that you're working with and who depend on you for valuable services. Whether that be now or whether it be in a few weeks or a few months when hopefully the tide turns and we start to come out of this. Consumers are going to be more likely to remember your business once we return to normal if you continue to stay top of mind and deliver a really relevant message to them, right? You don't want to completely go dark, even if the reality is your front doors could be closed. And we know for many of the customers that we're working with, that has happened. The great thing is, I think, we've worked with a number of businesses that have found some really creative ways to stay top of mind. And throughout today and throughout the next several weeks as we talk to you, we're going to continue to give you those ideas. Mike, do you want to talk through the next one?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Opportunities still exist. So the first bullet point there, consumer behavior hasn't stopped, it's shifted. I mean, the obvious first example is online. There's not a lot of face-to-face anymore, very few. But people are still out there shopping, and I think as business owners, we have to realize that and continue to find ways to adapt in this tough times. The other is time spent online researching and purchasing has increased. I personally have been here. We've been in our house for about 5 weeks now, 6 weeks. We've had some projects we want to do outside. That hasn't stopped us from going out and doing research to continue to look and bid out who can come and talk to us via contractors. But it also, I mean, look, groceries, my wife, we have 6 kids. We do a lot of shopping. The groceries are now all online, as well as, we've had real life examples in the customer service side where car dealerships, more online, more virtual type of exposure so the consumers can find them. So the business is there, maybe not in all businesses the extent it was prior to this, but there's still people out there looking to shop, and the opportunities there for the business owner. And then the last bullet point here is consumers are seeking new ways to interact with local businesses. So a lot of drive-throughs going in. Obviously, the restaurants is the easy one, but we'll give an example later on with an insurance company that's doing that. But I think as business owners, you got to find ways to be less face-to-face, but more creative in your ways of getting to the customers and letting them interact with you. And we'll talk about that in this presentation. Erin, I'll hand it over to you for leapfrog your competition.
All right, thanks, Mike. Every day I am having these conversations with business owners, and unfortunately, the reality is some have chosen not to continue. As Laura said in the beginning, sometimes marketing is the first thing to be cut. But the reality is, for those of you that do stay and do continue to stay with the times, modify your message, you have the opportunity now more than ever to actually jump over or leapfrog your competitors, right? So as they might stop some of their campaigns, you're staying, you get to then gain more exposure, both on Google, hopefully social media, right? Depending on what you're doing. And that is a main point that we're stressing as we're talking to these businesses every day. And I would say more times than not, they get on board with that and they see those results much faster because there is less competition happening right now.
Right. I think through this time spent online, and I shared with Mike and Erin as we were prepping for the call, I don't think I'm ashamed to admit that, my phone alerts me every week of my amount of online activity. And on average, my time online has increased between an hour and a half each day, right? So that just speaks to the volume of things that I'm doing online, investigating, thinking about future purchases, supporting other, small businesses in my community. So the reality is with not being able to leave our homes much, online is where it's at.
Laura, I'd like to add to one point on the opportunity that still exists is, and I just went through this morning, live chat. If you don't have it as a business owner, great opportunity there. I handled 3 issues this morning where I was going to have to wait on the phone for almost 2 to 3 hours. It was quick, live chat, got it resolved. So I think that's another big opportunity for businesses as they move forward to help with the communication process.
I would agree, Mike. Great example. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of marketing, why you should keep, your focus on marketing your business and speaking to your customers. Now let's jump in and talk through really our ideas of 6 tactics to drive the biggest impact. Listen, in the world of marketing, particularly in digital marketing, there's a lot of things you can be doing. We're going to give you what we believe are the foundational things that you should be doing in this time. First of all, update your online business information. We know that for many of the customers that we work with, something has changed. Maybe you're doing specialized hours, maybe your hours have cut back, maybe you have showrooms that aren't open. All of this should be updated on the profiles that you have online. And that way, right, we just talked about how often consumers are online right now. It's easy for them to see when they can contact you. Maybe they can only contact you via email or phone. Make that aware and make that known in all of your online profiles, whether that be your Google My Business or GMB page, as you may hear it referred to, social media profiles, Yelp, etc. Make sure that kind of your house is in order and you're effectively communicating your information to potential and current customers. The second tactic, display ads. Display ads are a great way to keep your brand top of mind. And also the great things about display is it can be highly targeted to your audience. So if you'll remember on the previous slide, we talked through the importance of keeping your company name front and center. Capitalize and take advantage of the amount of people that are online and keep your brand out there through utilization of display ads. The third tactic that we believe drives the biggest impact is usage and leveraging of social media. Social media is more relevant and prevalent than it's ever been. Again, people are online, people are looking towards their friends, and people are frankly following the businesses that they support, regardless of the social channel. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter are all ways to stay connected with your target audience. I know I follow a number of businesses that I personally work with, and I'm thrilled to see the amount that they've taken to social media and talking about, again, revised hours, how they're supporting the local community, staying that top of mind and being present and communicating with the target audience. The fourth tactic to drive the biggest impact: give consumers something to read about your business with custom, relevant content. For those of you that have joined some of our sessions before, content is always a key pillar of what we at Vivial believe is a differentiator for your company. Now more than ever, you need to use that content to communicate to your customers. And we're actually going to show some examples here in a bit that shows how some of the businesses that we work with are using content and using this as a very meaningful way to talk to their customers. We know that many of you are used to talking to your customers live in your store, whether they come in to purchase something directly, whether you're helping them in the garage, wherever it might be, you're used to kind of seeing them face to face. Content, whether that be written content, videos that are produced, and they can be simple videos, right? That's a really easy way for you to maintain that connection with your customers. The fifth tactic: start on-site optimization activities now to help your organic rankings in the coming months. So what do we mean by on-site optimization activities? We're talking about your website. We're talking about making sure, again, kind of your house is in order. This is the time. Aaron talked about on the previous slide how we know that some are choosing to cut back on marketing activities. This is your opportunity to leapfrog them and gain Google rankings so that when consumers are searching, whether that's now or in the future, you're setting the stage for future growth. So all of these things that you can be thinking about doing now, that maybe you have the time, and making sure that you've got things in order. The last thing that we would say, and if I were to say if there's a buzzword for this discussion today, it'd be communication, right? All of the things that we've shared with you, even if you look at all 6 of these tactics, it has to do with continuous communication with your audience, whether they be current customers, whether those customers are referring other business to you, new prospects. You need to adapt and over communicate. You'll notice this is a text message bubble. I think I have a couple examples of businesses that I work with that have done a great job through this, staying in communication. My kid's orthodontist is regularly sending text message updates, letting me know how I can get service if I need emergency service. I have a child that's in a dance class and they've gone virtual. So this company, I used to only get one monthly newsletter, and it would kind of be, updates about what's happening. I am now getting communication probably 3 to 4 times a week from the dance studio with retail items for purchase, virtual dance classes, communication about keeping the kind of the dance community together. It's a great way to stay connected, and I definitely feel like that dance studio in particular is very invested in my family. And by the way, I'm continuing to pay my monthly fee because I'm getting a great deal out of that. So in our opinion, these are 6 ways, what we would say, building the foundation to make sure that you have your business set up to manage this time. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Aaron and Mike, and they're going to take us through a few examples that I promised that we were going to share about how some of the businesses that we work with are navigating this time. Aaron?
Great, thank you, Laura. So Laura mentioned earlier, if your showroom might be closed, right? So my question would be, how are you getting that message out there? I'm sure you're not stopping business completely, right? So this is just one example of a kitchen and bath showroom that obviously had to close with some of the new mandates that came out. So we were able to quickly provide those updates to their consumers by updating their Google My Business page, as well as creating some posts on social media with some additional details on how they can connect with that business. Whether that was through phone or maybe virtual communication, email, obviously, to schedule a consultation, all of which they're still open, but again, showroom wise, and we wanted to make sure that was reflected on their social and Google My Business pages. The other one that we have is a landscaper. So, if you look at this and you look at the progression. So if you look back on like March 9th, a post that we created for them, that was really before things started to change for everybody. Regular business as usual post, but just a couple short weeks later, you see how the message has to change a little bit. Now that we are home, Mike, you mentioned having some things done around the house. We're all starting to think about, oh man, I don't like that, or I don't like this about my house. we are still doing that research online. So we wanted to make sure for this landscaper, that message was still being portrayed, that they were available to come out and do bids. And then most importantly, we were able to showcase the work in action, right? Even as recent as this week, that they're out there doing the jobs and still following those social distancing rules that are in place.
Mike, you want to take us through the other?
Yeah, the others are a real life example, customer we work with up in Michigan, Precision Collision. And look, they're a body place, they're a collision repair, glass repair. Times have changed, they've had to get creative. What I love about this example is the messaging right up front on the left-hand side. They talk about, due to the virus, we've had to adjust. I think that messaging and the communication that Laura talked about is just critical. And then on the right-hand side, they've gone mobile. I'm sure it's been on their mind for a while, but probably not in their wildest dreams that they think they'd be going out and doing glass repair, restoration, collision repair, as well as detailing. But in times like these, I think you got to get creative. I think they've done a really nice job, and we've been fortunate to help them modify that message and get it out. A couple other examples that have come in through our customer service side. The first, we had an insurance agency. I talked about this a little bit, but they've opened up a drive-through so people can sign documents instead of having to come in. They can just drop them off like at a bank teller drive-through. There's less interaction, less of a chance to contact the virus. It's worked out really well for them. People are coming in and making those adjustments to, all their insurance policies. It's crazy times right now, and people are making adjustments, and they want to be able to have their local insurance person help them. Yeah, the middle one there is a sign company. So pretty creative here. I would say this is more brand awareness than jobs. It's more down the path of they're making signs, they're putting them in, hospital, doctors, people that are out there helping our patients every day. They're putting lawn signs in their yard with their logo on it, so it keeps their brand out, and it also is really a feel good for the community, and the signs are out everywhere. And then the last one, there's the veterinary clinic that's offering a really drive up service. You connect through either a call, a chat, or an email. They'll schedule a time for you. You pull up, they'll have someone come out, get the dog, take it in, tell you what time, or whatever animal you take to the vet, and they will have you give you a specific time to come back. You park in a location, they will bring the dog right out to you. They do all the transactions, via Visa or online.
Great examples, and I think that's a small sampling. Each week we'll try to bring you more examples of some of the more creative solutions. This is about being creative, right? If ever there was a time, this certainly is it. Okay, we're going to take the last 10 minutes or so and answer some of your questions. As I mentioned, I don't know that we'll get to all the questions that were submitted. If we do not get to your question, we will follow up with you to make sure that you get the answers. I also mentioned, feel free to use the chat functionality. You can submit questions as we go. But we got some great questions, and I would say also some common questions, which tells me that business owners out there have a lot of the same similar things going on. So with that, let's jump into it and get to it. So one question that we got quite a little bit was, I heard that Google and Facebook are giving free advertising to small businesses. How can my business take advantage of these? Great news. We probably, a couple weeks ago, all saw the headlines when they came out. I think Google announced that they were giving $340 million in ad credits to small businesses, and Facebook announced that they were giving $100 million. So I'm going to take this question, and I'm going to read a couple things, because I do want to make sure that we're giving you guys the best information. It's great. It's a great question because they do operate very differently. So let's first talk about the Google ad credit. So what we do know is that businesses cannot apply for these ad credits. So Google will be applying these to ad accounts at their discretion. We do know that they have stated that it will be for small businesses who have been advertising consistently since January of 2019. So if you've been a Google Ads customer, whether that be directly with Google or through a vendor similar to Vivial, and you've been doing it for a while, right, since January of 19, it is possible that Google will place an ad credit into your account. These credits are not yet in place. However, they will be available at the end of the second quarter. So it's nothing that you can go apply for. It's nothing that you can ask for. It'll kind of automatically happen in your ad account. So if you work on the Google Ads yourself, you would see that, starting in second quarter. And if you work with a vendor partner like Vivial, we would manage that on your behalf. So great question, and I think it's a great thing, obviously, that Google is doing to support small business. Facebook, on the other hand, as mentioned, that is a $100 million program to help support small businesses. The Facebook grants will be available for up to 30,000 small businesses in over 30 countries. Now, this one does operate differently. These are available to businesses with between 2 and 50 employees, have been in business over a year, have experienced challenges due to COVID-19, and are in or near one of the 28 locations where the US has Facebook that operates. So that is a distinguishing factor there. And you do need to go online to apply for these grants. So it is not automatically given. You do need to apply, and you need to meet those stipulations. So we realize that obviously doesn't impact everybody. So hopefully that is helpful in understanding. Certainly, if you have any questions, or for those of you that are current customers of Vivial, certainly talk to your account coordinator. We're happy to provide any specific details that we have. Okay, we're going to move on to the second question. Second question, and Erin, I'm going to throw this one to you to answer. The question is, where do I start when we are so computer challenged?
Yeah, so, without really knowing how challenged you might be, I would suggest bringing in an expert, right? That's always going to be a great first step. They can help you strategize and even implement something pretty quickly. If you do know a little bit, which I would venture to guess most of us do, if you do know a little bit, you might want to start with, putting some email blasts together for your current clients. Again, back to the point of communication, that is one of the quickest and easiest ways to get anything, what or if anything has changed with your business and how you're operating right now. Or you could even look at your Facebook page or your Instagram if you have your social profiles up to date, again, hours, or if there's any changes that you can reflect on those posts.
Great. It is, one of our taglines that we say often is, we make the complex simple, because the reality is it is really complex. And so, we understand that, which is obviously why we're in the position to help so many businesses that we work with. We had a follow-up question come to the one that I just answered, which is, will my paid social media management to Vivial be able to take advantage of the free Facebook ads? So it sounds like this question is coming from one of you that is a current customer of ours utilizing our social media management services. So you will need to apply for it, and your account coordinator and social media manager will be able to assist you and show you how and get you all set up to be able to apply, obviously assuming that you meet the criteria that I reviewed below, but we're happy to help you alongside with that. Okay, next question. How can you solicit, engage, or advertise without coming off too strong while keeping in mind and at the forefront of what's happening? I think that this is a really relevant question for right now, and I would tell you, we as a business have discussions on this all the time. My perspective of this is authenticity, right? So at the end of the day, we know that you're in business to serve your customers and ultimately to drive revenue and make money for your business and to provide for your family, right? But you also are in the business because likely you love what you're doing. Stay authentic, right? Communicate in an authentic, meaningful way with your customers, and it will relate to them. We certainly, I do think that, yes, you can take it too far, right? The example I gave before on the dance studio, that to me, that's a great one. And I think that's a great example of a business that, prior didn't really communicate all that much outside of the classroom, right? A once a month newsletter that I would get, but now is communicating several times a week. Well, if I equate that to us, we would have been in the classroom, it kind of equates. So, I would say trust your gut, talk to an expert, get advice, but trust your gut. And as long as you're staying authentic, it'll come across that way to the customers that you serve. Okay, Mike, I'm going to throw you this next question, which is maybe a tough one to answer. So I'll give you the tough one. I need to cut my marketing budget. What goes first?
Great question. And that's a question I can tell you that customers that are calling into our customer service lines and customer relations, what I'm responsible for, it's a question we get asked a lot in these times, but really there's no overarching answer. I wish I could give you one. I think you all know your own situation, right? Finances, when's my state going to open back up the business that I'm in? When can the people come through my door? If I'm a contractor, what can I do? What can I do? the message we've told everybody is, let's take a deep breath before we make any rash decision that could impact you long term. I think the other is what's your plan? Have a plan, write out your plan, evaluate your plan. For those of you that are business partners with us, we want to work with you and make it work. A lot of times it's realigning, because as we talked about earlier in the presentation, you're going to have to go, in many cases, a different route. If it's in shop, now you're going over to mobile. Do you take your money and maybe SEM and move it over into that to let people know I'm out here when they're searching, mobile lawn repair or mobile glass replacement? But at the end of the day, if you feel you have to make a decision, I always go back to the data. Like, what products have worked really well for you, and you probably should stick with those. And those that maybe were new, questionable, not getting the results you wanted, then maybe those are the ones you cut out. But really, I think it's more of you got to have a plan, take a deep breath, and then ultimately, make a decision based on that.
Okay, I know we have a few minutes left. Maybe try to squeeze in 2 more questions. We got a question live that I'd like to address, and anybody who wants to take it can take this one. I have a limited budget to advertise. I'm torn between Google ads and Facebook ads. What do you recommend?
I'll take that, Laura. So I would piggyback on some of the things that Mike just pointed out. Right? What is the situation? What is it that you're trying to target? And is there something different? Historically, we've seen Facebook become more of a pay-to-play space. So it is something that if you want to get the best bang for your buck, there are some really great targeting options through your social media ads. Right now, though, I would say on the flip side, Google ads, we're seeing a lower cost per click because, as we mentioned before, some of the competitors are dropping out. So, I think you need to look at your short-term versus long-term goals, evaluate your plan, maybe have someone look at it with you, and then you can, start to implement from there.
I would just add, look at your competition in that space you're playing in. If it makes sense to put money into the paid search, there's very few competitors. Costs are down, as Aaron just said. I think that's a great play to have, as people are out searching online all the time. Obviously, Facebook's a good option as well, but like Aaron said, I think you got to know your audience and where you're going in your local community.
Great. So last question, Aaron, I'm going to throw this one to you that kind of piggybacks a little bit on a topic that you just touched on. The question is how to attract your target audience on social media.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I mentioned, it is becoming more of a pay-to-play space. So implementing some sort of paid ad campaign really does allow you to choose who your ads or promoted posts are going in front of. Again, we need to look at who that is, right? Who is your ideal customer? How are they shopping? What do you think engages that customer? And create the ad with the end user in mind, right? And not to get into too many of the weeds, but the social media outlets really do provide you with some great data and analytics for you to understand who is the target demographic, location, or interests. So utilize those tools that are available if you're implementing that campaign.
Very good. Okay, I think to be conscious of time, we're going to stop the questions there. Feel free to submit them, and certainly as the week passes before we see you next week, feel free to submit any additional questions that you have. The other thing that I would say in closing is we have loaded a resource page for local businesses on our website. So if you go to vivial.net, there is a link at the bottom of the page, and that'll take you to our COVID-19 resource page, which has a plethora of information in regards to resources that are available to you, even outside of the marketing world, tips and tricks regarding marketing, links to things that you would need. So feel free to go out there, get as much information as you possibly can. We are really excited to see you next week and continue talking to you about how to manage your business and more specifically how to manage your marketing during this time. Thanks so much for joining. We hope everybody has a great day and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.